Here we go with a new topic. Attic Nights. Part 6. Verba. Plural. The words from the oration of Metellus Numidicus. Is that his name? Yep, I'd say so. Quam, which he had said. In censura, this is a type of magistratal position, his censorship. Ad populum, to the people. This would be people under his power and living in a city or whatever. When he had horted them, he encouraged them to gerundive, to marry wives, basically. This duco is the word used for taking a wife. And this oration, quam ob causam, it's another word for why it was reprehended, why people spoke against it, and quo modo, and how contra it was defended, with a little sit there instead of est. So we could have put that in italics or anything, but 1. Multus, many, eruditus viribus audientibus. So this is an ablative absolute. So there are many people audientibus, listening, who were erudite, which means they were learned men. The oration of Metellus Numidicus, and the description of him is in the genitive as well. It was a gravis and deserti, another word for being eloquent or something, when this was being legabarded, when it was being read, which in his censura, which we saw up here, while he was being a censor, he dictated to the people. He said it to the people. Concerning the ducendius of uxoribus, concerning taking wives, cum eam, when he was encouraging them to matrimony, which we have in English, getting married, to the capesenda, of taking these wives into the act of matrimony. In the Lober's little footnote here, Metellus Numidicus was a censor in 102 BC. Livy attributes a speech on this subject to Quintus Caelius Metellus Macedonius, censor in 131, which he said was read to the people by Augustus in Suetonius's Augustus. Okay. And 2. In eo oration, in this oration, ita, thus, scriptum forward. It was written thus. Si sine uxor, if we were without wives, possumus, if we were able to be without wives, quirites, that's a vocative calling the Roman citizens, all ea molestias, all these troubles, caramus, we'd be free from them. These are probably ablatives. But, quoniam, since natura gives it to us thus, or nature's making it so that we need wives, basically, and nec cum elis, and neither with them can we satisfactorily be commode, which is comfortable or fitting, but neither without them are we able to live in uno modo, in one way or in any way. So he's saying, yes, it could be a hassle having wives, but nevertheless we need them. So the perpetual saluti, perpetual safety or whatever, what have we got? Potius quam means rather than having brief pleasures, volupty, consulandum, we should take counsel for perpetualness of safety. That's what he's addressing at the beginning. Vidabator, it seemed to quibus them, to certain people, this accusative, Metellus the censor, to whom this concilium esset, to this plan had been, or he's taking counsel to do this, to encourage people to ducenda uxors, to take wives, not ought to have been, concerning the molestia and inconveniences. These are perpetual troubles and inconveniences of the wives, confederation of ought not to have confessed. So that's infinitive, taking this infinitive. But nequi id hortari, this seemed more than to dissuade people to do this and to absterque them and to make them run off in fear from having wives, or to deter them. Said contra, but contrarily, that's just a version of said, contrarily in this, Potius, rather, he ought to have said, Dicaband. These are all the things that have been sumide taken up that in the oration. That plerumque generally, and most of the time, none of these molestias or troubles were in the matrimony, in the marriage. He should assert or asseverate. These were due to the marriage, and if, in which nevertheless the acquitere, they did happen, or they should seem to have happened non numquam, which is sometimes which they sometimes seem to happen. They are parvus, they are small and levis and light and facily and easily they can be tolerated. Decorate, he should have said. Majoribus emoluments, and with more major profits or advantages and with pleasures. So voluptibus and emolumentus go with this. In ablative again, they can be obliterated, they can be forgotten, and these same things themselves, not all of them are vitio or by the fault of nature, because he mentioned nature earlier, but quorundum maritums, but of some husbands or marriages, the blame, and these unjust things are venere, they seem to happen. 4. Titus autem castricius. So, however, or moreover, Titus Castrius, recte and condigne, was estimating or thinking metellus to have locutum, to have spoken. Recte means rightly and condigne means worthily. And inquit, he said, a censor, alita, differently, debet loqui, or to speak, and a rhetor, someone who does rhetoric, in an alita, in another different way. Okay. Concessum est can be conceded to the person speaking in rhetoric or addresses with us sententious, with opinions or thoughts, so that falsus and audacibus, bold, and versutus and cunning, and subdolus, which use tricks, and captiosus, same similar sort of thing. If vero moti simile, so if they are very similar, or a bit similar, modus in a way very similar to the truth, and possibly they are able to move the animus of man, to move the minds of man, qualim can be in some type of way, they can inrepare, they can creep in by their astuteness or cunning. So we might as well have a look at captiosis, false, deceptive, captiosis, harmful, or sophisms in plural. I'll click on that. Yep, there's no other definitions. We've got Cicero using it, and Seneca, etc. Okay, praetia. Besides, it is said turpe esse, so it is a foul or disgraceful thing for a rhetor. Sequis, if there's something in a bad case or cause, relinquat left, destitutum, as the Loeb calls it, unnoticed, and impropugnatum, and unfought or undefended. 5. So he's inquitting in. He said enim metellum, but for Metellus, a sanctum virum, a good man, a bit like pious, with such gravitate, so he's got a gravitas, and praedatum means he's entrusted or bestowed with fides, with trust and honour, cum tanta honorum, when of such honour and dignitate of vitae, and worthy of his life, that when he is loquentem, present participle, speaking apud the populum Romanum, so when he's speaking to the Roman people, he ought nothing, dequits ought, he ought nothing, takes the infinitive, to say anything aliud other quam than what seems to be true, sibi for himself, and omnibus and to other people, videt bator, what seems to be, praesertum adverb, especially when he is decorating, when he's speaking super ere over some matter or subject, quae, which is quotidiania, which is a daily thing, intelligentia, which is understood, and is common and per voce, and pervades through all the common people, which is comprehended, is the use of life or experience of life. So all these things happen to all the people and are commonly known, you might want to say. 6. De molestia, concerning the trouble, igitur, therefore then, to cunctus hominibus, to all men, notissima, this is well known. He has confessed this, which is known, this trouble which is known to all men, and by his confession, the fidem, his trustworthiness, sedullatus and veritatus comeritus, he has earned this fides of his sedulousness and his truthfulness, and then tum, denique finally, easily in proclivita, easily in an uphill battle, to what is the rerum omnium validissimum, the most strongest and most verissimus and most truthful things out of all things. He then persuaded the civitatem, the citizenry or the state, that non posse, it's not possible, there's the infinitive, to be salvem, to be safe, without matrimonium frequentia, without constant renewals of marriages and giving birth to children, etc. 7. Hoc quoque, this also is aliad, something from the same oration of Q Metallis. Dignum esse, it's worthy, existimus, we think, to be in assiduous lectionation, in constant readings, non by Hercules less, so it should be in more, not less readings, which quae a gravissimus philosopher scripta, and which are written by the most serious philosophers. 8. Verba, the words of Metallus, haec sunt, are these. De immortals, the immortal gods, they have possunt, they're able to have the plurumum, they have the most authority, most power. Said not plus, but not more, that they want nobis for us, that they ought to want for us, than our parents, quam parentes, at parentes. But parents, if purgant liberi arare, if their liberi, if their children purgant continue, taking the infinitive to error, to go astray, they are exheredant from the goods. They are disinherited from the goods. That would be the parents' goods, properties. So quid ergo, so what then? Nos, are we, from the immortalibus, from the immortal gods, should we expect dissimilars? What should we expect differently from the gods? Nisi, unless or except facimus a finem. We make an ending in our bad rationalibus, in our bad ways of thinking. Is demum. So finally, aecum, what is fair or a level ground, dios propitios, who for themselves are non-adversi to themselves. So it's fair that what the gods bestow, you might say, these people are not against themselves. For die immortals, for the immortal gods, debent, they ought to approve virtues, not adhibere them, not apply them or give them. And that's it for the day.